It was supposed to be a night of celebration, a night of triumph, a night decades in the making. On May 1st, 2022, Wynonna and Ashley Judd stood side by side at the Country Music Hall of Fame, accepting one of the highest honors in country music, induction for the Judds. But behind those tears, the moment carried a weight almost too heavy to bear. Just one day earlier, their mother, Naomi Judd, had died by suicide. Ashley's words that night cut through the silence of the room. She said, "I'm sorry she couldn't hang on until today." And in that moment, the crowd understood. This wasn't just a family accepting an award. This was a family holding itself together by a thread, torn between pride and pain. Because if there's one thing the Judds have taught us, it's that sometimes the brightest spotlight can cast the darkest shadow. Before they were country music royalty, they were just survivors. Naomi Judd, born Diana Ellen Judd in Ashland, Kentucky, was a teenage mom with an iron will. At just 17, she gave birth to her first daughter, Wynonna. Years later came Ashley. She raised them on her own, moving between Kentucky and California, chasing a dream that everyone else said was impossible. In 1979, Naomi packed up her daughters and moved to Nashville. She had no money, no connections, just a belief that they were destined for something bigger. And she was right. In 1982, a demo tape of the two caught the ear of producer Brent Maher. He said he was stunned by the sound. Wynonna's voice, deep, powerful, soulful, paired with Naomi's warm harmony, was magic. By 1984, they were topping the charts with Mama He's Crazy. Their debut album, Why Not Me, went double platinum. 14 #1 hits would follow, 5 Grammys, 9 CMA Awards, 8 ACM Awards. The Judds weren't just a duo, they were a movement. They were everything country music claimed to be, authentic, family-centered, and real. But the truth, their public harmony hit a private storm. To the world, Naomi and Wynonna looked inseparable. But behind the curtain, their relationship was strained. Part love, part control. Naomi was the visionary, the dreamer, the perfectionist. Wynonna was the voice, powerful, raw, emotional, but often made to feel like she was living inside her mother's dream. Even Wynonna would later admit, she felt like an employee of the Judds. Their arguments were legendary. Sometimes they'd scream so loud in the back of the tour bus that Wynonna would literally lose her voice, and shows would have to be canceled. It wasn't just creative tension, it was personal. Naomi's obsession with image, especially Wynonna's weight, created lasting wounds. She'd tell her daughter things like, "If you lost 20 pounds, you could be a pop star." Every compliment came with a condition. Every success came with a shadow. When they reunited years later for a 2011 reality show on OWN, The Judds, it became clear that this wasn't just dysfunction. It was damage. And for the first time, both women tried to face it, in front of the entire world. While her mother and sister were conquering the charts, Ashley Judd was finding her own way. As a child, she was often left behind during tours. The forgotten Judd, in her own words. That feeling of being the outsider would shape everything she became. By the early 1990s, Ashley had turned that pain into power. She rose to stardom in films like Kiss the Girls and Double Jeopardy, earning over $1 billion at the box office. But behind the fame, Ashley was unraveling. In 2006, she sought inpatient treatment for severe depression and trauma. And in her 2011 memoir, All That Is Bitter and Sweet, she told the truth that had been hidden for decades, about abuse, neglect, and generational illness within the family. She wrote, "We are only as sick as our secrets." Ashley didn't just heal herself. She broke the family's silence. And in doing so, she became something her mother and sister never could be, a truth teller. When Naomi retired in 1991 because of hepatitis C, the big question was, could Wynonna make it on her own? She didn't just survive, she dominated. Her first solo album in 1992, simply titled Wynonna, sold more than 5 million copies. With hits like I Saw the Light and No One Else on Earth, she became one of country's most powerful voices of the 90s. But away from the stage, she was still fighting the old ghosts. There were financial crises, failed relationships. Her daughter, Grace, faced addiction and serious legal trouble, even serving prison time. And Wynonna herself has faced health scares and emotional exhaustion, recently battling vertigo that left her dizzy on stage. She once admitted, "I'm a recovering entertainer," because fame, for her, was both freedom and captivity. Naomi Judd's later years were marked by a new mission, mental health advocacy. She spoke openly about her severe depression, anxiety, and PTSD. In her 2016 memoir, River of Time, she described depression as, quote, "all your worst days rolled into one, over and over again." She talked about the contrast between her public image, sparkling in rhinestones, and her private reality, weeks without leaving the house. She called it the unfair foe. Despite her efforts to fight it, on April 30th, 2022, Naomi took her own life at her Tennessee home. Ashley later revealed the truth publicly, not out of spectacle, but to control the narrative, to destigmatize the conversation around suicide and mental illness. In her death, Naomi's final message was one she'd spent a lifetime trying to teach, that even the strongest among us can struggle, and that fame, love, and faith sometimes aren't enough to silence the pain inside. In the wake of their mother's passing, Wynonna made a brave decision. She went on with the final tour. Night after night, she performed those same songs, joined by Brandi Carlile, Kelsey Ballerini, and Martina McBride, turning grief into gratitude. When reports surfaced that Naomi had left her daughters out of her will, tabloids tried to reignite the family feud narrative. But Wynonna shut it down. She said, "Fighting over what? I have a great life. Ashley has a great life." And for the first time, the sisters, who had spent years separated by success, reconnected. Wynonna said, "We're tender now. It's not about fame or money anymore. It's about saying, 'I love you.'" Their mother's song, "Love Can Build a Bridge," became their reality. Even in tragedy, love found a way to cross the distance. The Judds story isn't just about country music. It's about mothers and daughters, about ambition and pain, and about the high price of holding a perfect image together in public when you're falling apart in private. Naomi was the dreamer who built an empire from nothing. Wynonna was the voice that carried the weight of it. Ashley was the witness, the healer, the truth. Together, they form a harmony that's both beautiful and broken. And that's what makes it unforgettable, because in the end, their greatest song wasn't just about love or loss, it was about survival. I'm ByteSizeNetwork, and this has been the Judds, country music's royal family, and their hidden pain. If this story moved you, consider sharing it. And remember, even in the darkest moments, love can build a bridge.